And would you agree? Well, no, Purdy probably wins this award, but outside of that, has Klay Thompson been the most discussed kind of guy so far? Last
2024?
6 to 9 months.
Oh, that long?
Yeah, just going back like Encompass Warriors and 49ers season. Has Klay been...
I was thinking about Jock Peterson and Pusoy Dose.
Yeah, that's going back into baseball season.
Sorry.
But you know what I mean?
For Guru.
Like pick it up at Halloween and who's been the most polarizing Bay Area guy?
Draymond.
Okay. I mean,
Draymond's done Draymondian things
that's
to
fair.
where...
That's fair.
But you're right in terms of Klay and Brock and Draymond. That'd be the big three, right? I think. Because,
right.
And Draymond, not necessarily for basketball reasons.
Right.
When he plays well usually.
So Draymond's back and he's playing well. Purdy is on a beach. So let's do not a cup check like they do in
Shout out
League.
Mitch.
Yeah, and Mitch. No, let's do a Klay check. Where you at?
Where am I at?
Yeah, where you at?
I'm loving him as a six man.
Okay.
Vinny Johnson.
Okay.
Keep him on the bench. Let him come off. And it's funny because we had our show thread and Mark Grandy had an interesting take about, if Klay shoots well, then he needs to start. And if Klay shoots badly, then it's a non-starter. I think my look at it is let Klay be on the bench. Let Klay come in and just do Klay things. Come in at the 6-minute mark or the 4-minute mark and come in and shoot with the second unit. That, for me, is the best way to allow Klay to evolve as a player.
The whole thing is interesting because when we last saw the Warriors and Klay Thompson, he was off the bench and scoring 35 points. And so that makes people go, oh. And this is fair now. He handled it well, right? There was no pouty pout.
First time off the bench in 12 years.
And he played well. And now you've even heard Steph Curry and others talk about the idea of Klay, quote unquote, getting used to a new role. Okay. So all of that's good, right? Well, if we all subscribe to the theory that Klay Thompson gets in his head sometimes, right? A little bit, he thinks too much about all of this stuff. Do we take the 35-point performance as a good thing or a bad thing? Or was it just a night where the ball went in? Because the ball went in, so you get 35 points. But I think I could also argue, and you won't have a true answer to this until we see more games. And starting tomorrow, you get 3 games in 4 nights.
Wow.
Right here on 95.7 The Game. So
sell it.
Yeah, that'll be fun. And we'll get more info. But Klay Thompson, how did he react when he went to the bench? You could answer that by saying, well, he scored 35. Or you could say, by shooting twice as much as anybody else on the floor. That's an interesting way to react to getting sent to the bench. Was Klay just happy in his new role? Or was he doing what he often is prone to do and doing it at an even higher level, which is chuck it up and show everybody who he is for the audience?
Well,
Jonathan Kuminga got 6 shots that night. Klay got 22.
And made 13 of them.
And So maybe he just kept shooting because they were going in, or
he kept shooting because he's Klay Thompson, and that's what Klay does.
Okay.
But the fact that they were going in meant that it was good that he kept shooting. So I don't think that it matters that Klay was shooting and they went in or they didn't go in. Klay reacted the way you want him to react, by being Klay Thompson. When you put other players on the bench, they might react differently. They might sulk or they might go into a shell. And we've seen that from other NBA players where they get rebuked and maybe they don't come out and play the way that you want them to play. Klay went to the bench and he played 28 minutes and he shot 22 times.
He scored 35 points.
That's Klay Thompson.
That's fantastic.
Even if he was 5 of 22, he probably still would have taken 22 shots.
It's just funny because to me, he's in this spot where it's like all roads lead to Klay. And here's what I mean by that. What do you think is really being said when Joe Lacob goes on the TK pod and goes, well, you're going to have to play well here and have a good finish to the end of the season, or there'll be major changes? What does that mean? What major changes? What do you think that means? Here's what I think it means.
Yeah.
Not Steph and not Draymond.
Of course.
That's what I think it means.
It means Klay and maybe Kerr and maybe Looney and Chris Paul, most certainly.
Chris is gone.
No, but it means you're going to look at this roster and maybe it's Wiggins. Maybe it's you do everything you can to bring in Giannis. Steph, Draymond, Giannis, and I don't even care.
I need, by the way, quick aside since you brought that up, I need somebody smarter than me who really dive into the cap and all of the different things, the bird rights and the luxury tax and the apron and all of these words that we throw around. Somebody explain to me how the hell the Warriors are in play for any star who's available this offseason, because that's what we've been told.
Right.
They're in play. They will be involved with any potential two, if you will, to pair with Steph Curry. How? How's it even possible?
Well, you're going to shed 42 in Klay.
Right.
42 million and 30 million in Chris Paul.
Okay.
And if you get rid of Andrew Wiggins, which is about 23 or 24 next year,
But
now we're at about 100.
But talk to me about get rid of, because you made it sound like you can
Trade.
just but then there's money coming back.
It would be Giannis. And I'm doing this in terms of Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay.
Who's got one more year. Next year, he's making 48.8.
And the Bucks are going to trade him for Andrew Wiggins.
If Giannis says, I don't want to be here anymore, me and Thanasis are out of here, then you're going to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo. And in this wild hypothetical, the Bucks are first-round losers or whatever happens, they flame out, and maybe he doesn't get along with me too much. My doc isn't as good as yours or Guru's, but I thought I would just give it a shot.
I'm going to let it sit there, though, for a second.
Let it sit, because it's not my bit. You know, my Wiggins is better than my Doc Rivers for sure.
You actually, that sounded like a form of your grandpa daddy impersonation. Actually,
it's Grandpa Daddy and Doc Rivers.
Yeah, there you go. Doc,
I'm
Grandpa
limited.
Daddy when he's had too much to drink is your Doc Rivers. All right. Anyway, onward.
And I do a Gene in Oakland too. I haven't called you guys. I've been at the dog park.
Dibs does all the impersonations.
Of the callers.
Of people who people haven't met. Anyway, go ahead.
48.8. So if you shed 100 and you bring in 48.8. It can work, and
can it?
I think so.
I mean, again,
you may have to shed more than that.
Right, a lot of that money is all again. Joe Lacob has been we're trying to get out of this repeater tax.
Both aprons, yes.
Yeah, we don't want to wear aprons anymore.
If you're talking about doing dramatic things, these are dramatic things where there's no Klay, there's no CP3, Wiggins gets traded. There's a lot of things that you can potentially do in the offseason. Giannis can't be traded until April 23rd. Which coincides with the end of the regular season or maybe the end of the first round of the playoffs. Not that it would happen on that date, but if you're looking at Joe Lacob saying, we will do dramatic things, that is a dramatic thing.
Sure. It's also a tremendous hypothetical.
Of course.
And by the way, this market has already been through months and months and months of, if Giannis fill in blank. Okay. Well,
or LeBron. Maybe it's LeBron who comes in.
Look, it's fun and it's possible.
Isn't LeBron a free agent at the end of this year? Player option?
Can be, yes.
Right.
Yeah, he needs to opt out, which I'm sure he will.
So there's a lot of dramatic things that could take place. So if you take Joe Lacob at his word, and I do, and if this thing does not go well between now and April, then if you believe that he's going to do dramatic things, those are two dramatic things that he could potentially do.
You just have to make me a promise, bud. You got to make me a promise.
I don't do promises.
You got to promise me something now.
All right.
Okay?
Ask for it. I'll let you know.
I got the hell out of L.A. and got back home because that city, this is the only show they do.
The LeBron show?
They just talk about all the stars and how they're supposed to be on the Lakers next year. That's it. That's the show. What the Dodgers do last night, doesn't matter. Let's talk about stars who might get mad and might want out and might want to be Lakers next year, and how do we get them? That's it. That's it. They've been doing it for 25 years.
Yeah.
And once every decade they're right, and they're like, see, we got Dwight Howard. Nice. Enjoy your 8 seed. It's just, I can't stand it. So we got to promise each other, we can talk about this stuff.
Sure.
But let's not turn the Warriors into we're not any good, but we're the Warriors, so there's a big name, and he definitely wants to be on our team.
Well, I will promise you that we won't do that day in and day
A little
out.
triggering for me, that's all.
I get that. I do understand where we are, though, in terms of the Warriors and Joe Lacob's words on the TK pod, where he basically is saying, I'm not going to sit around and run it back and hope for a 10 seed again. So if this thing does end with a 10 seed and no playoff, only a play-in or something of that ilk, I do believe that Joe Lacob is going to look at every possibility to try to make this thing right.
Well, now that's another subject that I think is worth discussing as well.
Warriors want LeBron.
The Warriors
and Giannis. They're getting them both, Mark.
Okay,
there you go.
I'm in. So, cool. Boy, that really is. That's an LA show. Anyway.
Totally was.
So absurd. Anyway.
You play Steph at the 2, LeBron at the 1, Giannis as your stretch 4.
And people would just nod at you, and they're like, yeah, I bet that's what they want. I bet that's what all of them want.
LeBron comes in for the vet min.
God. Yeah. All right.
It's nonsense.